What is a computer? This is a question that can be answered in multiple ways, and if you were to ask a computer scientist or an electrical engineer, they'd probably answer something like this. A computer is a machine that automates the process of computation or calculation. That's true, but that answer doesn't give us a lot of information about what actually makes a computer and what do those pieces do. So I'd like to try to answer that question, and the way I'm going to do it is by first going back in time and looking at the word computer itself. So, what's a computer? Well, the term computer, as we see from this Wikipedia article that I've taken a clipping from here, the word computer was used as early as the 17th century, and it meant simply one who computes. So the first computers were people. And an important attribute of such people was that they did exactly what they were supposed to. Okay, so we see here that the human, in one of these definitions, the human computer is supposed to be following fixed rules. He or she has no authority to deviate from them in any detail. So a human computer was someone who performed calculations, but in particular, the type of human computer being referred to here performed those calculations in a specified way, and they did not deviate from that set of instructions that they were given. Okay, let's look closer at this. So here I've blown up this picture of a group of computers in the Naka high-speed flight station. This is from the computer room in 1949, as we see from the caption in the lower left. Okay, so this is an area where we have several computers, or we could think of each of them as operating inside of a system. They have things they use to get their work done. They're part of the process. So we'll refer to all that stuff as a computer system. So let's see what's in a computer system from about the 1950s. Now, obviously, there was a person involved, and that person was in control of the process, right? They were the ones that could read the data and the instructions and make sure that the proper calculations were being performed. Okay, so there's a person involved, and they are in control. On this particular computer's desk, you see that there's something called a Friden machine. This machine was essentially an arithmetic aid. It was kind of a giant calculator that they could use to perform calculations to help them along the way. Now, I've circled here a box on the desk of one of the computers in the background, and it appears that this, and we're going to pretend that this box is being used to store things that are coming into this particular computer. It's an inbox. This is where new data and new sets of instructions for the computer to perform are being placed. And we could imagine, we can't see it, but we can imagine that there's an outbox on the other side of the desk where she places work that is done and is ready to be consumed by whoever it is that's in charge, that's employed her as a computer. In the back of the room, there's a storage cabinet. Not surprising, we'd expect to see something like this in a room such as this. And what's in it? Well, this is where we'd be storing information or even sets of instructions or algorithms that need to be used later on, used in the future. Okay, so not uncommon, but what is it that's inside of this filing cabinet? If we were to look closer, we'd see it's filled with paper. And paper shows up in a lot of places in this picture. We see it here, here, and here. So paper's everywhere, okay? Paper's being used in these computing systems as a storage medium. It's somewhere where we can store the instructions the computer is supposed to follow, as well as the data they need to operate on. It's where they can store intermediate results and even the final results of the computations they perform. So the paper is very important. All right, so having looked at these different pieces of the computer environment, let's now diagram them so that it's a little easier to identify these pieces. So there was the human, and they're the thing that's in control. There was a desk, and on that desk we saw there was an inbox and an outbox. We also saw there was this machine that we use for performing arithmetic. And there was storage, right? There was that filing cabinet, somewhere to place results and information and instructions. And when we looked closer, we saw that that paper that comprised the storage, the important part of it, was also present on the desks. It was there where the controller, the human, could interact with it, read from it, write to it, and so forth. Now, we're going to see that these 5 pieces, something to do arithmetic, a way to get things in, a way to get things out, some storage space, and something to be in control of it, these are actually all of the pieces of a modern computer. But we're going to diagram it a little differently. So, what's a modern computer? Well, instead of having a human, a modern computer has something called a control unit. It's a circuit that's basically designed to follow instructions. We give it a program or a list of instructions and data, and it executes the program. It follows the instructions. It does this by utilizing a circuit called an arithmetic logic unit, or ALU, which is effectively a calculator that it can use to perform computations. There needs to be a way to get data in and data out of the machine, and so there will be circuitry to do that. Sensors and wires and so forth that collect information and are able to communicate that into the computing system, and then on the other side to get it back out again. Often we'll refer to these two things simply as I/O. You've probably heard that phrase before. Finally, memory. So you hear a lot about memory today when we talk about computers. And what is memory? Well, its function is the same as the paper that we saw in a human computing system. Memory is both where the instructions to be followed and the data to apply those instructions to. In other words, programs. A program is instructions and data. Memory is where programs will be stored. It's also where the results, the intermediate results and the final results of computation can be stored by the rest of the computing system. Okay, these 5 pieces comprise a computer. So when someone asks what is a computer, you can answer like the computer scientist, but it's a good idea to be thinking in your mind a little deeper about it. What are the 5 parts of a computer? This is especially important if you're trying to learn about and interact with a computer beyond the level of just playing video games. So whether you're building a computer, trying to design a computer, trying to program a computer, these 5 pieces are going to be effectively the center of your attention. When we program computers, the instructions, the programs that we write, they deal with these 5 things: input, output, ALU, memory, and control unit. That is a computer.